Well, first of all, I think in the case of Southeast Asia, we take for granted about the presence of the United States. We always think US is always a perpetual offshore balancing, right? They are here to basically balance of the rise of not so benign regional hegemon. But with the rise of Trump 2.0, we feel like how can we trust, right, the United States? Because the way how Trump deal with Ukraine, for instance, showed that they can basically throw their ally under the bus, and it leaves us with the only superpower or major power in the region, which is China. So in a sense, I think Trump's administration 2.0 makes us realize that basically we cannot rely solely on the US as a way to balancing whatever regional hegemony that rise. So in a way, I think this also wake-up call for us, Southeast Asia, to also create our own kind of a leadership in the region. Well, first of all, Indonesian developmental trajectory built upon the idea that the US is always supportive of a liberal order, right? That's why we're transitioning to green transition, yet phasing out our coal power, and in fact, we also try to downstreaming the nickel mining so that we can also be part of this so-called green transition and green revolution. But with these fragmentations of global order and the lack of export-led growth that we can rely on, I think it really impact on what kind of a developmental model that Indonesia wish to have. So in a sense, I think there is a kind of internal debates that is it better to heavily rely on the so-called globalization that seemingly kind of being fragmented, while basically, or we can basically go to the so-called economic reliance, right? Or, because Indonesia have 280 million populations, and by having a huge market, perhaps people might think that we can survive. But in reality, for the past 20 years, our economy built upon the idea of global markets. So in a sense that this also impact the way how we create the structure of our economy. So I think for the next 10 to 20 years, we need to shift a little bit, right? By heavily rely on, export growth, on global value chain, and to focus more on how to make sure that there is a localization of innovation, localization of technology, so that we can use those value chain, those innovation for our own benefit. So I think it really a kind of a homework for Indonesia to do.